at 9 o'clock at night. I just locked you in. The rate dipped. I locked you in for a great rate. Like, sounds good. Let's refi.
Awesome. No, that's great. So we're gonna go live on Facebook right now.
All right, I'll be quiet.
Oh no, you can talk. It's okay. And so make sure we are at the right place. And I'm gonna start recording. And oh, by the way, yes. So the 3-family, did you guys close on that?
Yeah, 3 families sold. We're supposed to close on the 12 later this month. That's moving along. And then it's closing on the acquisition. And then the fun begins again.
Are you selling the 12 units?
We're selling the 12. Yep.
Got it under contract?
It's been under contract since the end of June.
Wow. So when's the closing date?
Supposed to be the 20th.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Be the Bank. And I am going to welcome everyone here to wonderful training. Gualter Amarelo is on the other podcast. It's a surprise. We have Ken Hoffman in the house, our acquisition manager, savvy investor, good friend, amazing person, and amazing trainer. So Ken will be running the Q&A session today for his recent deal where did you put any money down, or was it all other people's money?
On the one we're doing, the 15 unit deal?
Yeah.
I have some money in the deal. Yeah. Not mostly. You know, there's my partner has a lot more, but yes, I do have a little bit of money in it, and we can talk about that.
Awesome. So, you know, being a bank is awesome. And sometimes we gotta learn how to be the borrower too. So it's a relationship business. It's where we have fantastic open mind and clear communication of if you are the bank, what requirements you are having, and what relationship you have with the borrower, what the deal looks like. If you are borrowing, like, you got to make sure you know what the bank or you, private money, looking for, what kind of return, what kind of expectations, and what's the collateral, what's the asset, and you know, Gualter talks a lot about being a debt partner, being an equity partner. So either or, you are lending the money. And I see Melanie Santos coming in, yay! And definitely, and I see Paul and Alpha trying to bring in here too. Welcome. So we're live on Facebook. We are recording. And again, Ken, you've done some real creative financing. You've partnered up. You found a way to make the deal happen for you. And you know, we'll be here till about 5:30 or less. So love to, you know, maybe you would share a little bit of how you put the deal together as far as financing goes. Mm-hmm. And we will open up to questions, because I think you have pretty interesting and pretty inspiring situation, because you just persisted and you didn't give up when there were some rough situations and rough moments. So yeah, I'll be jumping off at around 5:10. Look at Melanie's sad face. Her wager has departed.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
yeah. No.
Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, so honestly, I haven't called in too many of these, so I don't know what you normally talk about and what you guys had normally. Everything from being the bank to trying to find the bank, right?
Yes. So mostly we talk about be the bank, and you know, many of us here in this call have done bigger deals, smaller deals. I've lended like 30 to 40,000 to my friends who bought houses, did the flips. It was just like a second position. So, you know, it's pretty simple. It's a relationship, and you just put something on the documents, such as a promissory note. But I think it comes down to like, how do you even like approach, like when you're raising capital, when you're looking for money from the side of a borrower and a relationship with the lender. I think there's a lot of tension sometimes and people are afraid, but I think there's nothing to be afraid of. So I just wanted you to talk about your personal experience because you've had success, and then open up to questions and see
Sure.
people are here on the call. I see Rick AM coming in. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I have yet to do a traditional acquisition of any of my multifamily properties. All of them have been some kind of creative deal where somebody's played the bank. We can talk about the most recent deal that I'm in process with, but a deal that I don't really talk about is my first multifamily. It's a 6-family. I still own it. And I purchased that with seller financing where the seller played the bank. I mean, that was back in 2018. And the seller was looking for a certain price for this property. I thought it was a great deal. I was willing to pay this price. And the seller was offering seller financing to a qualified buyer. And I just happened to be looking at that point. I liked the property. And I think the biggest thing that sellers or maybe the bank, whoever is wanting to be a private lender is looking for is really they're kind of not only putting your faith into the deal at hand, but it's also you as an individual. So I think something that's helped me have success is, I've when I look for a deal and when I'm looking for equity partners or financial partners in the way of private lenders, I mean, I'm in that deal. I have faith in the deal. I've analyzed the deal. I'm fully invested in that deal, and I'm not necessarily just looking for somebody to borrow money from so that I can get something for nothing, so to speak. Is that I'm going to do the deal no matter what. Like, I'm going to try and I believe in this deal. I'll analyze it. I've proven it to myself before I'm going to raise any kind of capital. So I think that is probably one of the ways that I've succeeded is I've done that due diligence up front so that when I'm taking on investors or partners and they're asking me questions, I already know the answers to the questions of, what are these expenses? How much debt can it support on a primary or a secondary loan? What kind of interest rate can you handle? What's the cash flow like? How much work does this property need? I've already looked into all that and I've run numbers on my own so that I know the answers to those questions and I'm not guessing or shooting from the hip or saying, well, I think. It's like, no, I know this information. And that helps in twofold. One, it inspires confidence that I'm competent in being able to underwrite and run this deal. And two, it's giving them the information they need to feel comfortable with the deal as well. On the 6-family, the owner owned it outright, and I only put $60,000 down on a $400,000 purchase to buy that commercial property. I couldn't have bought that deal at the time any other way. I didn't have that much money. I had exactly $60,000 to put down on that deal. That was it. I had nothing else. I had that and my credit and my job. So that's kind of how I got that deal, and really having a good W-2 job helped actually inspire confidence in that seller to lend to me, because he knew that if the property fell on some hard times while I was trying to turn it around, I had enough. I gave him income statements, how much I made. I'm fortunate I have a good salary and a good job. And I was able to show him that, hey, look, if something happens, you're going to get paid no matter what. And in that case of that first deal, I think that made a big difference for that seller.
So the seller became the bank and he really did a good job qualifying you as a borrower.
Yeah. And he was upset. Actually, I thought he didn't qualify me hard enough when I was working with an agent who's a friend of mine who turned me on to the deal. He just wanted my credit score and my job and how much I made. And that was it. I was like, no credit history. He just wanted my number. Now I got away lucky because I didn't have exactly the cleanest credit at that time. I had a pretty good score, but I had done a deed in lieu on a property that I lost a bunch of money on in 2009, and it was still carrying on my record. So that was why I couldn't get a conventional loan. So the seller ended up lending to me, not knowing I still had that deed in lieu on my my record, but because everything else looked good, I just didn't mention it.
And did you get, did the seller have their own attorney on the deal, or was?
They did. They had their own attorney, and we drew up basically a private note agreement that was part of the closing package when I bought the property. And honestly, I had never done this before. I had never done seller financing. I was a little new. It was my first real estate investing deal for a multifamily. And honestly, the attorney, I don't think really knew how to do it either. I ended up kind of telling the attorney how to draw it up because they weren't really sure either. And I was able to get creative on the terms. The seller was hung up on the asking price and the interest rate. I think they wanted like 7%, right? But they didn't care about term or amortization. So I had them do 7% over like 30 years or something, so that the payment was a little low while I turn the property around. So it lowered the payment on the property, maybe 100, $200, which helped me in the cash flow while I was turning it around. But he didn't care about that. So it was kind of interesting. So I kind of came up with some of the terms, and then, we literally just came up with a amortization schedule from a calculator online, put it in with the private note, showed what all the payments would be. It was a balloon in 5 years where everything was due, but it was a fully amortized loan over 30 years with principal and interest. So it wasn't an interest only loan when I did that.
When did you refinance? When did you have to refinance and pay full to the seller?
I had 5 years, and I refinanced the property after a year. I was able to get my equity position after a year, and which was awesome. I bought it for $390, and it appraised for, thankfully, like $450 in 2019. And I was able to pay off the lender and get my 25% equity I needed to get a conventional loan.
Excellent. Well, Cam, you are the host now. I gotta jump off. I really appreciate you taking the lead on that. And guys, ask questions. Ken has done. I see Melanie Santos and Steve. They've been lenders and are lenders, private money lenders, and Desiree, welcome. Rick, Rita, love this name, and Kevin. And I see Paul in the waiting room. It's not coming for some reason. So welcome, and I'm gonna jump off unfortunately, but have fun. And Ken, thanks again.
Yeah, no problem, Dorina. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. So see you later. So does anyone have questions? Feel free to unmute. You don't have to type in the chat. Just jump right in. I mean, I can talk for 20 minutes, or you can ask me some questions. Anyone have any? What do you have, Melanie? Just gotta hit your unmute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
That deal that you're talking about, was that something that you found, or was it on the MLS? Because I've noticed that a lot of agents won't go back to the seller and kind of approach that as like a seller finance deal. They're kind of nervous about it. So
yeah, in this market, the seller finance is kind of a rare thing right now, at least on the first cut of negotiations. Yeah, that it wasn't on the MLS. It was listed with a local Fall River brokerage. I think it was listed on the MLS, but it wasn't. I can't remember what the word for it is, where basically it's advertised across all the different brokerages. I think it was listed only with that brokerage. So it wasn't. It was out there, but it wasn't widely publicized that it was available, right? They weren't really pushing it. It had been for sale since 2015, off and on, for the same price. The guy wanted $390 for a 6-family, which back in late 2017, 2018 was about 30 to 35,000 more than what the other 6 families were going for at the time. So I overpaid for it. I knew it, but I wanted to get in the game. I wanted to get into a deal and get the experience. And the property was in really good shape and had been recently renovated in 2008. So I thought it was worth it. it had a few things that were unique to it, bigger units, balconies, sprinkler system. So that was what I swayed myself to do. But yeah, right now seller finance is kind of it's rare right now. It's not something, because sellers are getting cash offers really. And so they don't need to do that unless it's something they're really looking to do. Or in the deal I did my last deal at the last minute, I was going to borrow about 100,000 of the down payment from the seller as a note if we needed to. And he was willing to do it because we were so close to closing. But I, you know, I always ask, because most of the times, because I'm an agent, I'm negotiating my own deals. A lot of times, actually all the time, I'll always ask, right? Like Mike Shine's, you know, famous for doing that. He always asks about seller financing at least 2 or 3 times. You know?
Yeah. What did they offer for a rate?
On my deal?
Well, you said for the 100,000.
Oh, it was not going to be very favorable. It was going to be like 12% interest only. Okay. Yeah, it was going to be hard money type numbers. Yeah, it wasn't going to be as advantageous as my first deal where, you know, the guy said 7%, which everyone's like, oh my God, 7%. But, you know, when you're talking to people that are residential investors, 7's high. But at the time, commercial was at 6. So 7 wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not at all.
So that's like the biggest question is asking. Is one, asking, and then 2, seeing what their terms are, because they might volunteer some terms that are better than what's out there in the mainstream. I mean, I can't remember who it was who was on a podcast one time or with Gualter that said they get 4% on some of their hard money or private money deals because they just ask for it. And somebody was lending money that they weren't from America. They were from Europe or someplace where they're used to getting negative interest in savings accounts. So 4% was amazing to them, right? So that's probably a good piece of advice is, you know, don't necessarily name a number first, because you might be pleasantly surprised with what the terms you may get are, depending on who the lender is and you know, their floor for what they're looking for a return might be lower than what is currently out there. And then I can talk a little bit. Yeah, what's up, Desiree?
Thanks, Kim, for that information. So I'm where you were, trying to get my foot in the door as far as getting a multifamily. I've been looking at some condos, townhomes near me, 2 bedrooms, 1 to 1.5 bath. And I wanted to know, what advice would you give to someone that's new to going into multifamilies? Because as everyone says, you don't want to do residential, you want to do multifamily. And I would like to just take the property and maybe turn it into an Airbnb. I have seen where when they're listed, they say they don't want to take conventional. So what advice would you give?
When they say they don't want to take conventional, they don't want to take conventional financing, you mean? Or so that means what? That they might want to be, are they looking for like a cash buyer situation?
Yeah, and they're getting a lot of that because of the way the market is right now. So you really have to come in over and above asking price. And, you know, sometimes that works, sometimes not. But, you know, you find yourself having to put in multiple offers on different properties. And most of the properties in that subdivision are rental units, because people, you know, they buy them as investors and they just hold on to them and rent them out. So I was just wondering, what's the best approach on that?
Sounds like you must be in a high cost of living area. Is that where you're at right now? Where are you?
It's turning into it. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, Nashville's beautiful. I was there about 2 years ago. I love Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah,
Real estate, it's gone way up.
Yeah, the cost has gone way up, and so you get a lot of cash offers and over and above asking price. So when I see them come on the market, even though I know they're priced a little bit higher than what they were selling maybe a year or two ago, but people are coming in putting in tens of thousands of dollars over the asking price. So that kind of, that may not be the deal that you can get in on because of those offers that are coming in, and they know
And
they
they
can
don't
get.
want to close, they don't want to wait to close on a conventional loan like
Oh.
60 days. They're looking for 30-day closes basically. So you're kind of in a private money, hard money situation where you've got to.
Yeah,
Well, the beauty of that is, I mean, you just have to hang out into the hard money or the private money for a few months and be able, and then you can take as long as you want to refinance it on your own, depending on if you're going to use it as your residence or if it's purely an investment. Then you'd have to go conventional and you'd probably have to put in a heavier down payment as an investor. But the advice I would take is run the numbers in your area and see, because 10-20,000 on a $300,000 property, I'm guessing that's probably the price range you're looking, 350, maybe 4,
Mhm.
I don't know, for Nashville for these
Mhm.
units. It's on a 30-year loan at the current interest rates. They just took a dip. I just refinanced my personal house at 2.875 for a 30-year, which is an amazing rate for a 30-year. That's a 15-year rate, right?
Yeah,
It may not make a big difference on that cash flow every month, right? Having that extra 20,000. It may be worth going over as long as, you look and see what it's based on what your plan's going to be for that property. So if it's going to be an Airbnb type property, you have to kind of do the research and see what are they going for and what's the, occupancy level of an Airbnb. Is it 50%, 60% in that area? I don't know a lot about Airbnbs. I don't have any at this point, although it has interested me and I've researched it,
right.
and kind of see what you can pay.
Okay. Yeah,
and
and the other side of the coin is that I'm maybe 9 months into being self-employed. So without that W-2, a lot of lenders are not going to even consider my application to apply for hard money. So it's been a quandary, but I just keep my eyes and ears open, and maybe I can partner up with some people to come up with the funding once I get an offer or get an approval on an offer.
Yeah, you may want to make sure you get that loan all tightened up before you leave your job, if you're able to, before you go self-employed. While you've got that W-2, get your
Self-employed.
Yeah, because then
Yeah,
you've
I'm
got
already self-employed.
Oh, you
So
already are. Okay.
yeah, I'm 9 months into being self-employed. So I did try out to get hard money lenders, but they all came back and said, no, it's too risky.
And it sounds like you might need to partner with somebody who does have that track record and income record that you can rely on as a partner. So then that becomes the real question: is this one property going to be enough to interest a
Right.
partner, right? Or do you need to go bigger? Do you need to buy a couple of them? It's
Right.
easier to go bigger in a lot of cases. It
Mhm.
sounds like it wouldn't be, but in a lot of ways, going bigger is better because you have more coverage on that property. You have more units to cover the debt. So you can be down 1 or 2, maybe even 3 units, and it doesn't really, it hits your cash flow, but you're not, the lenders, it protects the lenders better because they know they're still going to get their mortgage payment. As an investor, when you run short on money, you lose the money. You don't get paid. Everyone else still gets paid. So if there's any opportunity maybe to do something with maybe a couple units, like a 4 unit or something. I know that's probably kind of a rare thing down in Nashville.
It is, yeah.
Or or you may need to start with something that's not quite as nice. You may need to start with something where it's more of a fix and flip that you end up refinancing into as a hold. That may be a better avenue for you. I know this isn't really talking about being the bank, but that may be more attractive to not only a hard money lender, because there could be some equity there which helps protect them, right? Because you got to kind of put yourselves in the shoes of the lender, either private money or hard money. They want a return on their money. They don't want the property. They want to get their money back, make whatever their return is, 10%, 12%, and lend that money out again. They don't want to have to foreclose on you. So they're not going to lend you money if the deal doesn't have enough equity and enough meat on the bone, so to speak. So, I thought about this before I came on here, and the best advice I could give for if you're trying to attract private lenders and hard money lenders, if the deal's good enough, you probably won't have too much of a trouble raising the money. People will come to you to offer money.
Okay.
And I didn't believe it until it happened to me.
Right. Because all of this assumption and seller financing, all of this is new for me, but you said you did that right out of the gate. You did a seller financing on your very first property.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
I was in the right place at the right time. And if you had asked me back in 2018, I would have said, I'm probably going to lose all my money doing this deal, because I thought we were at the height of the market, and I barely cash flowed buying this deal. Like literally, I bought this deal. So there's more to the story. It was a seller finance deal, but I didn't also say how I got the $60,000 down payment that I needed. I didn't have $60,000. I took a home equity line of credit on my personal house to get that 60,000. I got kids, I got bills, I'm paying daycare for kids. I didn't have 60 grand in the bank. So I HELOC'd my house at 9.5% and was paying like that HELOC was chewing up most of my cash flow off this property. And when I got the property, there was, obviously needed more work than I thought. Tenants were a little rougher than I thought, but I've done very well with it now that I've got my financing straightened out, and the rents have appreciated, and I've put a lot of money back into the deal to straighten it out, and to get better tenants in there. So that's really, kind of part of it is being able to hang in there too. And having that margin, having that cushion on the deal where, I don't need the money to live off of, and I can roll that profit back into improving the property. That, I think, makes a big difference. And the bank saw that then, like the big institutions, local credit union I refinanced it with. That's why that value went up, is because I didn't take any of the money. I put it back into the property and then some. They saw the rent roll going up. They saw the condition of the property. And it's not to say that those deals aren't out there. They're out there. You can still find them. It just depends on the area. It depends on the seller. This seller in particular, he wanted to play the bank because he didn't want to pay capital gains. He didn't want the money. He really didn't want it. And he was actually disappointed when I refinanced and paid him out. I had to call him and say, I'm paying you off. I'm sorry. I gave him I'm giving you 2 months notice, but just so you know, I'm getting my own, I got approved for a loan. So
wow.
You might want to plan for it. And, if I was a more experienced investor, maybe like I am today, I had received some good advice and I wish I had taken it. And I think I lightheartedly tried to convince the seller to reinvest that money with me. I said, hey, why don't we partner? Let's do another deal. Let's keep this thing rolling. You've got this money, you don't want it. Let's go buy another deal. I didn't do a good enough job of selling it to him.
So would that be considered a 1031 exchange?
If we had become partners, we possibly could have.
Yeah.
I'm doing one right now. So I have 15 units that my partner and I bought in December. Similar story, off market. We thought we were paying, a little bit under market value. We thought the property was worth probably about 200,000 more than we were paying. And now we're selling. It was a 12 unit in the front and a 3 unit in the back. And I found this deal with one of my wholesalers. I went out actually with Dorina and looked at it. I looked at her and I said, I think I'm going to buy this place. And she said, you should go buy it with hard money. So long story short, I had it under offer agreement, and then my business partner came to me and said, "Hey, are you all set with the down payment? Do you need a partner?" And I was like, "Actually, I do. I don't have the down payment." So I had part of the down payment, but I didn't have all. So that's how I
Right.
ended up with a partner. It's kind of a funny story like that, where he was the money partner, and I did, I said, "Well, I'll do all the work." I found the deal. I got the financing together, and I, kind of have run the project since the beginning. And now we're selling it, and we're going to 1031 it into an even larger deal that we have on an offer we're actually under contract for right now. So it's kind of a good news story. That was another creative
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
12 units in the front, 3 in the back, all on one lot. And I went through the process. We cut the lot in half. I sold the 3 unit. We've already closed on that. And now we're supposed to close on the 20th on the 12 unit in the front. So
Awesome.
by piecing them apart, we've actually doubled our initial investment.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
in about 7
Congrats
months.
on that. Yeah,
7 months.
congrats on that deal too. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep trying and plugging along, and hopefully something will fall into my lap, but I'll keep trying.
I mean, run the numbers, look at the deal like I've got to finance this whole thing. Would I put if I had to put 200 or 300 or $400,000 of my money down on this, would I do it? Would I
Right.
put my money on this? Right? Because you're asking somebody else to put their money on it. And it could be all their hard-earned money. It could be half of their hard-earned money. It could be, and because they want that money back so
Right.
that they can lend it out again. Right.
Right.
And then they want that confidence and assurance that they're going to get that. As long as you can answer those types of questions and inspire somebody with that kind of confidence, you'll be good to go on the deal. So that's the biggest piece of advice I can give is find that good deal.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
then
trying to find something off market. I'm a realtor as well here.
good for you. Good for
And
you.
so it's with all the craziness, anything that hits the MLS, you can pretty much forget about that. But I do look at the MLS, but I'm more or less interested in some things that are off market. So
You might
yeah.
have to find something that's a little beat up. You might
Yeah.
have to find something that there's some tenant problems that they can't solve because of eviction moratoriums. And I don't know if they're still active in Nashville, but I know
Mhm.
New York State, they're still active where they're
Yeah.
continuing the moratorium on evictions, I think. So, that may be something where an opportunity, right? Or somebody that may be facing
Yep.
eviction or foreclosure, right? Now that foreclosures have opened up, could be an owner occupier, a 3 or a 4 unit or a duplex where somebody's, they're in the preliminary stages and they're willing to make a deal. They've gotten the subpoena and now it's real.
Yeah. And I was kind of holding out for that, waiting for this foreclosure thing to start happening, because I know we're going to get more stuff on the market after that. So like I said, I'm keeping my eyes and ears open on all of the possibilities.
Yeah, just get out there, network, talk to people, ask people, what else do you have? I just looked at 9 units that was on the market on MLS, and I was there with the broker. And I was, not even looking for myself. I was looking for one of my clients. They were interested. So I said, yeah, I'll be in the city Saturday. I'll swing by, take videos for you. No problem. I'll send you some info. I'm looking at it. And I knew the company, and I said, hey, I knew the owner. I was like, how's the owner doing? I'm not going to name drop him here, but I was like, how's he doing? Oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, I've talked to him over the years. We've never done business, but I said, what else do you have? I said, I've got some investors and my partner, and we're looking for something in the 40 to 50 unit range. What do you got? You guys have anything coming up? And he's like, actually, we've got 49 units we're about to put on the MLS.
Wow.
And I was like, send me the info. Can I get it first? Can I look at it? I said, I know somebody that wants to buy something of that size. Sometimes that's all it takes. It was a half an hour hanging out in front of the house, talking to the broker, shooting the breeze, establishing a rapport. I got another off-market deal as easy as that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Thanks,
Um,
Ken.
yeah, no problems. Anybody, I know I've been talking a lot. Has anyone else got any other questions, or am I skipping anything? Anything I could talk about?
Hi, yes, my name's Tarita.
Hi,
Uh,
Tarita.
Yeah, I'm selling a multifamily and I'm about to take it back from the broker that I listed it with because I haven't been happy with the activity. And I'm thinking about doing the owner financing.
Wow, where is this at?
It's in Chico, California.
Chico, California. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see it on Zoom if you like.
I can see it on Zoom.
Yeah. I mean, excuse me, on Zillow. Getting
Okay.
my Z size. Yeah, it's 2915 Godman Avenue is what it's listed on.
How do you spell Chico? CHICO, or
Mhm. Yeah,
you said 2915 Godman Ave?
yeah, 95973. So yeah, so I didn't realize that I was an investor actually. I was thinking of myself as a homeowner.
Yeah. How many units? You said it's a multifamily though. How many units is it?
It's 3 houses on one parcel that's 0.69 of an acre. And it's zoned multifamily, medium to high density, so it can be developed. Or
Wow.
the development for medium is 13 per acre, and for high density is 25 per acre. And it's zoned for 2-story, and it's got multifamily on 3 sides of my
Yeah, I'm just taking notes. Sorry.
yeah.
On 3 sides. So you've got, okay, wow. I mean, that sounds like quite a property. So
Yeah.
how can I help you? What's your
Well,
question?
I just started going to these meetups in the last week, and because I've been baffled about why I can't understand, you know, my conflict with the local realtors. But I realized because I'm looking at things as though I'm a homeowner and I'm trying to sell this property, and I'm looking at other homes.
Mhm.
Property in this area is going for between 250 and 300 a square foot right now. And it's jumped up from 200 a square foot. So I'm looking at that and not realizing that I'm actually an investor. So I
Yeah.
just figured this out in the last week. I'm an investor.
Yeah, you've got, I'm guessing they're all rented out. Do you live in one and rent out the other 2, or?
Well, in 2019, I had them rented out, and sometimes I rented 2 of them, and I also have a studio here. So it's actually 4 units, although the studio is non-conforming at this point. So sometimes I lived here, in a small area, and I rented the rest out. I have about 5,000 square foot of development here with the 3 houses.
Okay.
And so in 2019, I went full bore into being an Airbnb. So you'll see now that it's all furnished and set up as an Airbnb. So in 2019, yeah, I was very busy as an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And yeah, in 2020, when the pandemic came, I just decided to close down and take a vacation for a year. And then I decided just put it on the market like this. So I've been closed all this time. I think in 2019, I made about 87,000, but I wasn't fully operational all year. So I think it's probably got a potential of about 120 or 30,000. This is a busy area for Airbnb because it's
Was that profit or was that,
no,
was that profit? That was gross.
gross.
Okay.
So this is a college town. And now we've become a boom town because of the exodus from the Bay Area and Sacramento since the pandemic, and people can work from home. So it's a nice community because mostly education and agriculture here.
Okay.
Yes. So
you're trying to figure out, so you're asking for a certain price. You haven't had any activity on this. And so you're trying to figure out, how do you be the bank in this case? I'm guessing.
yeah. I'm thinking about being the broker and the bank.
Broker in the bank. Okay. Are you,
My owner.
do you own it outright or you have a note on it?
No, I have, I owe around 200,000 on it.
Okay. So you owe 200,000. So you'd be looking at a minimum to get that, right? So that you could clear the note, convey the property, unless you were looking for somebody to doing an assumption seller finance deal, something like that. I don't know if you've ever looked into stuff like that, where somebody would basically assume the property and make your note payments on top of your payments to you for the equity that, the difference between the note and the price.
Yeah, well, that's it. I don't really understand what my options are at all.
You have a lot. You have a lot of options, right? Because you have a high equity position in those properties. I don't know what you're asking. I don't know if you want to share it here, but
I have it now. I originally had listed it at $999, like in 2018. And then, of course, when you get a broker, the first thing they want to do is reduce the price. So when I listed it with this broker, I listed it at $950, and then he convinced me to drop it 50,000 to $899. And now his only marketing strategy is just to keep dropping at 50,000. I'm going, no, I don't think so. That's not a good marketing strategy for me. And so it's so I'm going to be done with him on the 26th of August.
Yeah, the 26th of August, but then isn't so I don't know California real estate law or real estate agreements, but isn't there a period of time where if it conveys after that, they still can get their commission, right? So around here in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, it's like 90 days usually is specified. So if your agreement expires and you sell it within those 90 days, they're still entitled to their fee.
As far as I understand it, but I'd have to check because it seems everything is changing.
Yeah, you might want to review whatever agency agreement you signed with them and find out. You may need to wait a little bit longer before you sell it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because my understanding is that only if it's sold to a client that he brought.
You're just going to want to look at it, yeah, and see what it says, maybe pass it by your attorney and just say, hey, what's my commitment here? So you're saying you're going to try and list it yourself or sell it or market it yourself, maybe for a little bit less, and see if you can find an investor or an entrepreneur that's interested in operating an Airbnb. Right?
Well, I don't care what they're interested in doing here because maybe it's someone who wants to develop it and put a 12-plex or something, or split the property like you did, make 2 parcels of it or make 6 parcels of it. But I'm not planning on going down anymore on the price. I think I'm at the bare bones down because property here is going between 250 and 300 more per square foot, and mine is under 200 square foot now. Like I'm at 171 a square foot, which to me is like dirt cheap for property here. So I don't think that's an option to go down, but at
Okay.
least I don't have to pay him. So that will be going up on it in a way, because I don't have to pay a commission to him anymore.
Right. So you're trying to figure out, so you're just trying to figure out what your options are. I'm dropping my info in the chat. If you want to text me or email me anything about this deal, I'll be happy to, talk a little bit more with you about it. But since you have room to move on the price, if you want to really unload it, you can do the seller finance route and ask for a $200,000 down payment to clear your current note. That's one option. The other option is you can do what's called an assumption deal, where they're assuming the loan that you have if you're comfortable with the buyer. And that's a tricky slope, right? Because it depends on the lender, because most lenders have a clause in their loan that says due upon sale. So usually once you convey the deed, they're actually looking to get paid off. A lot of people operate under these assumption rules where it basically is they're counting on the bank not coming to collect, right? And they're counting on the bank that there's continuing to get paid by the new owner on the old loan in your name. So then you have to do your due diligence to make sure you're comfortable with the new owners, by maybe screening them, looking at their credit, asking for some money down, because obviously you wouldn't want to give them this property with only like 20,000 down. You're going to want some skin in the game, but maybe they don't have the full 200 because that's about 20% down. And this way they could get into the deal. You get some of the money, and then they're making the payments for you until they do whatever they're going to do with the property. Either they sell it again, or they develop it, or do something like that. But
Yeah.
that could get you a higher price,
Yeah.
By doing that. And then you could specify your own terms on the balance of the note. So you would structure a note for whatever the difference between you'd structure a note for probably the whole thing, or you could do that. Structure a note for the whole thing. And part of that note says that they have to pay the current loan of this payment per month as part of the payment to you, something like that, right?
Well, I guess part of that too is that because this property has such a great cash flow, it's like I have to get a deal where it's worth it to me to sell. Because I could go back to renting everything and, either get long-term leases or Airbnb and so the sale.
Well, if you were Airbnb-ing it and you were grossing 82,000 a year, you were probably cash flowing with your current note and your expenses, I'm guessing somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 a month, something like that.
Well, probably more like 6.
More like 6. Okay. So you would need a note to give you a good portion of that in order for it to be worth it to you.
Well, yes, because I'd be giving up, a really good income.
Right.
My this is probably kind of like golden handcuffs because my money's so well leveraged here. My payment's so low, and I have a well, and I'm on septic, so I don't have to pay sewer. I have that. That's like a $500 a month savings right there.
Yeah, you have to decide whether you want a job or you want to get a paycheck.
Yeah. And you can go start hunting up management companies, which is always testy if you want to be an out-of-state owner.
Yep, you could do something like that too. Yeah, that's a possibility. If I'm going to jump to one of the questions before we go, because I got to go at 6. But if you don't mind, there's one more question, and then if we have some time, you can ask another question if you want. Melanie said there was a question off Facebook: how to structure a loan so that your investors are happy. A question from Facebook. I think that's going to depend on who your investor is, right? It's not like I said earlier, some investors are happy with 10% and they only want a short term. So it's really, you have to ask your investors some questions, and you have to get to know your investors and find out, well, what are their goals? Are their goals to make interest for 3 to 6 months and then get their money back? Are they okay with loaning you money for 2 years for a higher return, maybe 12%? Private investors are usually looking for their interest at the end on the exit. Hard money's usually looking to get it every month. So I think that's one of those questions where it depends. Like I've got a private lender with my partner who he's already told me they don't want to be in the deal long term. They like the quick deals, right? They want to be in and out in 3 to 6 months, and we can, they'll do a reasonable interest rate, interest only 10%. That's it. So when I'm looking at a project or a property, or I'm looking to exercise those amounts or those solutions, I have to look and see, is this a good match for that investor? Can they get in and out of their money in 3 to 6 months? Am I going to be able to refinance this deal in 3 to 6 months and pay them off? If I can't do that, then I have to do a better job with negotiating with them, or try and find a different investor. And quite honestly, keeping your investors happy once they have faith in you is pretty easy. Make your payments. If you make your interest payments, they're happy. Make them on time, make them every month. And then they're going to want to lend to you again, because you're going to establish that trust. They're going to get that trust with you, like, hey, this guy's been trustworthy. He hasn't, or girl or woman, they've paid me every month. They didn't, ask for extra money. They didn't ask for extra time. It was easy doing business with them. I didn't lose any sleep over at night. They gave me my return, and they didn't give me any problems. It's just like what we expect from our tenants as investors, right? Who's your best tenants, right? The people that pay on or before the first. They don't cause any problems. They tell you when things are wrong. They tell you when, they're upfront, honest, and transparent. Like, look, a lot of people understand when there's problems, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. Like, there's been times where I've had to go to my investors and be like, listen, we're out of money. We need this much money. And I make sure I have all my ducks in a row before I come and ask them that for a little bit more money, and say, hey, this is why we needed more money this month. This is why we need to put money into the deal this month. And I need a little extra private money. We're turning these 3 units. We didn't lease them out on time, but here's our plan to make it right for the next month. And then follow through on that and make sure you deliver. Don't go back and give them excuses the next month, right? Give them results, right? And those are some general guidelines, right? Nobody wants to lose money. I don't like losing money. Treat their money like your money. Really, that's the biggest thing. Treat it's like your money. It's actually, I don't know if it's me personally, but I have a higher sense of accountability when I'm dealing with an investor's money sometimes than my own money, because I'm like, I want to make sure that they get their money back, they get their return, and you work extra hard for that, because I want them to lend with me again in the future. Anybody else got any other questions? I hope that answered the question on Facebook, whoever you are. I'm not quite as organized as some of the other hosts here with all the different tools, so I can see what's happening on Facebook at the same time. Thank you, Melanie. Going once, going twice. Hey, Melanie, since I see you're on, can you offer any experience or any stories about how you've either been a private lender or borrowed money and what you're looking for?
So I just recently became a lender. So we're getting, what do we get?
With who?
Josh?
14.
We're getting 14%,
Hard
Nice.
money over a 2-year period.
hard money over 2-year period.
Balloon at
And
the end of 40.
I've
with a
never
balloon.
done, I was never able to do seller financing. I never was lucky enough, I guess, to get any of them deals. So I always kind of struggled with them. But I will keep asking, just like Mike Shine.
Just keep
And
asking. Yeah.
yeah, just, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. So
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. Actually, Mike's been told no for seller financing a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he's told you guys this story, and maybe I'll share it here. I hope he doesn't mind. You know, he has an office building in the town I live in, and it kicks me in the pants every time I go there because I wanted to buy the building for, at the time, my wife and her friend's chiropractic and massage therapy business, but Mike ended up buying it. And he went to the seller who had been working on it for years and asked him, hey, how about seller financing? How about seller financing? Well, it turned out the guy kept saying no because the guy wasn't educated on seller financing enough to know that he thought he couldn't do it because he didn't own it free and clear. He had a loan balance on it. So once Mike identified with him what his apprehension was about the seller financing, why he couldn't do it, he was able to clear it up by just saying, hey, that's fine. I can give you that much and it'll clear that up. And then you finance the rest until I fix it up. And then I'll finance you out. So sometimes it's kind of asking that second layer of questions like, well, why won't you do it? Well, maybe
Yeah.
there's a reason, right? And it might not be a big reason why they can't.
well, a confused mind says no, so they were just confused about the terms, and so yeah. I guess it makes sense. So always just explain yourself.
Keep asking. Yeah. Say, well, why won't you? Right? Like, what are you going to do with this money? You know?
Yeah.
Do you have something that you want to buy, or do you want to pay tax right away? What do you want to do? So, yeah, cool. All right. Well, that's good. Well, I wish you guys luck with being bank. I think that's interesting. I've been interested in it too. I just, when I get to that point, I'm sure I will be. And then I'll have to structure it appropriately. Cool. All right. Well, any other questions, anybody? Otherwise, I'm going to drop off here and enjoy the Friday night, what's left.
Thank you, Ken. A lot of good information was shared here.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was valuable for everybody. And I love sharing and I love telling my own stories. And, frankly, I wouldn't have known. If you asked me 4 years ago, I'd be on a Zoom call telling people or a Facebook Live how I did some of these deals. I just started reading up on how to do these types of deals, really. I read up on Bigger Pockets. I read up on some of these other websites, investing websites, and I just kind of got educated so that when something crossed my path, I would know what it was and I could, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, everyone. We'll have a great Friday
Thanks,
night.
Ken.
Thank you, Melanie. Thanks,
And
Dorina.
thanks, Melanie.
Walter.
Thank you.
Okay, talk to you later. My info's in the chat.
Bye.
If anyone wants to
Bye.
snap it. Bye. All right.